Yeah, I see that. Hey guys, if you can't hear us, I'm sorry. We are working on getting this fixed. 5 minutes and 24 seconds.
Freddie's timing it for us. Let me know, Rick, when you think you've got it going again. You
Let
could
us know in the chat.
switch it to tech difficulties so that I'm sitting here flailing with my mouth open.
Yes, no worries.
Situation, everybody. What's funny is
I think
if you
we got
can't
it.
hear me right now, theoretically, I could just start saying whatever I want. I could just get really, really absurd.
We have a reactor leak here now. Give us a few minutes to lock it down. Largely very dangerous.
How about that, Rick?
I think they can hear you.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Guys, let us know if you can hear us, and we'll get this show going.
I will delete the window that I was typing in Zoom in Google that said audio mixer disappeared.
All right,
In,
you got us.
in OBS. All right, that's good. That's good.
We can hear you.
There's
That's
always something.
good
Doing a
to
live
see.
show. What's it? Kind of speaks well of me for the fact, don't you think, that when I needed to like come up with something vulgar on the spot, I could think of nothing. So.
Well, the funny thing is, people would respond whether it was vulgar or not.
Yeah,
Oh,
Scooby Joe
Criff.
says
It didn't need to be.
Jared's
vulgar.
gonna drop a few Criff bombs. Yeah.
Criff.
Certainly. Okay. Re-rolling this bad boy. Good evening, everybody. Here we are, ready for Legends Look Back. As you can tell with the shelves. Oh, the shelves. No, other way. Shelves behind me. I've been packing up my Star Wars collection. It's getting quite bare over there. there's not a whole lot left on the shelves. I, for some reason, started in the bottom right and was working my way up toward the top left. Started with like the Fate of the Jedi series and was working my way backward, and then shifted over some, just for the decorations. But kind of a sad feeling to box up all the books. Now, I'd like some input from you guys tonight. I'm going to have my Star Wars collection boxed up for over a month. It's already mostly boxed up at this point. I'm going to be moving into the new house mid-January. Here's the question. For Christmas break, I'm going to have about 2 weeks there where I'm off work before I start my new job. Great time to read some Star Wars books. If you were me, what would you do? How many physical, actual Star Wars books should I pack in suitcases? Versus how much of this should I just go ahead and box them all up and put them in storage until the time is right? It's like a real dilemma. I really don't know what to do. What would you do, Freddie?
That's one of those things where definitely having the Kindle, going the Emily route, having the Kindle on hand with any book available is very nice. But you definitely want at least one or two Truce of Bakuras by your side at all times.
I'm not going to read Truce of Bakura, Freddie. I read it last year. I don't need to read it again this year. You reread it yearly, Freddie? Every year?
Maybe every 2 years, maybe I'll get back into it. I'm on a 3-year hiatus right now, so I might dig back into that book.
There's no way that's true. Didn't we do it early 2020? Legends Look Back.
I read spots here and there, and it refreshes my memory, but I haven't done a full read through in a long time.
Wait, for when we did Truce of Bakura, you didn't do a full read through? You fooled me, Freddie.
I read the beginnings, I remember the middle, and I read the end just for, just to remember.
And then I tell you a few details along the way that you'd forgotten, so you've got genuine surprise on the show.
See if you could do that.
I love that. I'm discovering something about mine and Freddie's relationship. What other secrets has Freddie been keeping from me? Let me know in the chat. Let me know what you think. I do that pretty much with Dark Empire. Every 2 to 3 years, I reread it, and it gets better every time. I mean, it's aging really well. I got somebody a fun Dark Empire themed Christmas present, and it's not myself, so I can't tell you. We'll wait until we do the Utini Secret Santa thing. But my thought was, what would I want? And I got them that. So
I love it.
Great way to give gifts. So what I have done at this particular point is I have put in the front pocket of my suitcase the Life Day collective, the one that Cavan just wrote, the like the short stories. Or is it George Mann? I'm talking about the holiday book with short stories in it.
Yeah,
it's got Wookiees on the cover. What's it called? The Life Day special. Anyway,
yeah.
I got it and been waiting because I wanted to read it over Christmas break. It came out in like September. It's way too early. So I've saved it, got it ready. Got Star Wars Insider, the Fiction Collection Volume 2 in there because it fits so nicely in the very top sleeve of a suitcase. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's very thin, and also durable because it's a hardcover. Then I've got reading the Han Solo trilogy. I've got this bad boy here. I think it's going in a box because I've got it on Kindle as well. Got some comics I'm reading. Reading some Power Rangers comics too, but it's very stressful. Right now I'm thinking 2 paperbacks. I'll take 2 paperbacks with me. But regardless of how many paperbacks I end up packing, very excited to have 2 weeks to read some Star Wars books. How about you guys? You gonna try to get in over Christmas break? Freddie, there's no way you're gonna read that copy of Truce of Bakura.
I would love to, just to say I have, but I'd imagine I need some sort of ultra microscope to read that fine print.
Does it legitimately have the text of the book inside?
It does not. That would be interesting.
I'm highly gullible, so legitimately had to ask.
I mean, there is text on the book
that
you can read. Like, it is fairly clear.
What do you think is a good estimate for how many Legends books, or like I would count a trade paperback of a comic, like, a full story. How many do you think I can read over Christmas break? Like, not working, totally off work for 2 weeks.
You're moving.
I'm moving, but this will be between moves. So like we're going to my to family's house for Christmas. All my stuff's going to be in storage, and then I start my job. So we're arriving January 23rd, December 23rd, and then I move January 2nd to start my new job.
Jared,
so I've got.
How many times have you moved in your life? Like, what's your expectation of how much time you'll actually have?
All my stuff's gonna be in storage. Like it's everything's packed. I can't be packing anymore. I'm packing right now. Look at the boxes, Emily. Look at the boxes. All my stuff's gonna be in storage. I can't do anything. I'm gonna need Star Wars books to read.
That's true.
I'm also gonna build a table. So that's the thing.
Okay, Jared.
I'm thinking 10 days. I think I can read a book a day.
You think you can do a book a day? I was gonna say 5 books.
No, yeah, probably not. As soon as I said it, I was like, not gonna work. Emily, what you got?
1. Just set the bar low.
That's
my new
no
life
way.
motto. Set the bar
Just
low.
Jared here.
Get 1 in, and then just
I could
pat
see-
yourself on the back. Any more than that?
I could see about 1 every other day.
Every other day. I typically will take 3 days if I'm reading hardcore to read like a full Legends book.
Wow.
Yeah, like 100 pages a day, 300 pages.
You're gonna have to run us through like a schedule of when you fit that in. I would love to know.
Yeah, coming up on the next episode of Legends Look Back, you'll get
Sounds good.
full rundown, or maybe in like mid-January once I finally have a studio again and we can record a show. But
it's a nice,
as
nice
of
carafe
now,
of cap
though some
on
of
your
my
side.
books have been packed. Hey, we still have a studio for tonight. We still have an episode of Legends Look Back, and as you can see by the Jango Fett helmet, is that Jango or Boba, Freddie? I'm colorblind.
That's Django right there.
I could just tell. But the Jango Fett helmet behind Freddie, we are going to be talking about some Fettacular. I was thinking like fantastic, and then I went the tacular route, and I'm regretting it.
Hey, I'm
Fetish?
Nope.
Almost.
Nope, not that one. Some great
Well.
Legends comics tonight. So before this gets any weirder, Rick, start the show.
Oh, I probably should do that, huh?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Look Back, proudly part of the Utini Podcast Network. This is a Star Wars books podcast where, even though there was just a huge, brand new High Republic video game trailer, we're going to talk about Star Wars comics from 10 years ago, where we, of course, always talk about. We celebrate our rich EU history as well as dive into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I'm joined tonight by the biggest Fett fan in the galaxy himself, Freddie C.
What do you mean there's dinosaurs in this book? is what Skooma said in the chat. If you're listening live, you will hang out with us. But Trusa Bakura, man, it's all over my tree. And you gave me some insight here. I might have to read it. I'm gonna read it this Christmas break for sure. Absolutely.
Great.
Full thing.
Good for you. I'm not. You know who else is probably not? Because he prefers to collect the books than read them. Rick Grace. How are you, Rick?
It hurts. That hurts. I'm just gonna stop the show there. And yeah, I probably will not read Truce at Bakura this Christmas break, but it is on my list for sure. Freddie keeps hyping it, so I'm pretty excited about it. And I totally missed the High Republic game news, and I love the High Republic, so I'm gonna have to go watch that. Hopefully after the show. And not during the show. We'll see how our conversation.
No, Rick, don't do it. I'm not watching the Steelers game, though it's live right now.
Yeah.
So, if I'm skipping that, you can skip this.
Well, I'm also missing a hockey game, so if we're making score here, then,
If we're keeping score, hockey has a lower score than football, so I win, right? You know who else wins? Just for being on the show, Emily Daybeck. How are you, Emily?
I'm doing well. We are in full-on holiday bake mode in my house. And the other night, I told my husband I wanted to eat my weight in Christmas cookies. And so he kind of called me on it and calculated exactly how many cookies I would need to eat in order to eat my weight. So drop that number, drop your guess in the chat, and whoever gets the closest will get a shout out.
This sounds dangerous, Emily. Isn't it a thing like you're never supposed to guess a woman's weight?
Well, that's what it's a weight in cookies, not
It's
pounds.
different. Yeah, it's different.
And I'm pregnant, so like who even knows how much I weigh?
Yeah, there's two people, right?
I'm thinking
there's two.
I'm thinking this could go one of two ways. One, we need to guess like an insanely high number of cookies.
After you.
Because like in doing so, we're saying that you weigh very little, right? So it would hold on. I'm not good at math.
Jared, you should read your weight in books.
I'll tell you what, books are heavy, man.
Yeah.
These Legends hardcovers.
Yeah. Some of those reference books, man, they're weighty.
If y'all could have seen my pre-show setup, hopefully my butt wasn't up against the camera. I'm sure Emily saw it. We were here early. I was trying to push my boxes of books around my room, and I could not lift them. I had to just like do this thing. They're heavy, very heavy. I'm gonna say 1,000 Christmas cookies. 1,000. How many eat your weight?
Any other
your
guesses?
face is getting red. Are you getting uncomfortable with this?
No, my husband joined the chat, which I thought was hilarious. So he's here. He can tell you his answer. I won't be offended no matter what the guess is. You can drop like 20,000 cookies. Doesn't matter. Won't offend me. 11:38. Skooma Joe says.
While you guys are guessing, that reminded me of a story. I've had to go to the doctor just for a few like checkups, like every couple of weeks for something. And they always have to weigh you in, and it's one of those good old manual move the little counterweight, but they always lowball it. And so I finally just started just setting it at the right starting point for them because I'm so offended whenever they have to keep bumping it up. I'm like, no, here you go.
That reminds me of that scene in Heavyweights where he's like, get on the scale.
Get off
the scale.
So, Emily, let me ask you a question here.
Sure.
What kind of cookie are we talking about?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So
sugar cookies, right? It's the only way to go for holidays.
We figured most cookies are on the lighter side. So we're calculating based on about an ounce per cookie.
Okay.
This is
I don't know what the metric for.
I'm not sure how much a cookie actually weighs, but I'll go with an ounce. That sounds.
Freddie only eats
good.
Lean meats. Fit like that. His martial arts. All right.
I do like my ginger snaps.
What's funny, Emily, is you've already told me the number.
Yeah.
And I'm so selfish that I forgot it instantly.
Oh, it's okay.
It wasn't
it's a
about
weird
me.
number.
Yeah.
Well, y'all are all very flattering. We've got 11:38, 7:55, and 8:64. Currently, Skooma Joe is closest to accurate. It was like 2,080 cookies that I need to eat in order to eat my weight. So I will keep you updated on the progress as I continue to bake and consume my weight in Christmas delight.
Right now, in my house, we're trying to eat all the food in our house before we move. Because,
food.
What are we going to do? We don't want to throw it away. We only have one more trash day till the move. That's how I'm counting. One more trash day. So, eating a lot of weird stuff. It's all that stuff that's been in our house for years that we specifically avoided
years.
Yes.
Yeah, years, Freddie. Years.
Pinto beans.
Absolutely. Well, tonight we are not going to be doing any more small talk. Getting right down to business. No more cookie counting. No more book packing talking. We're going straight to the good stuff. We are talking tonight about and I wish I could hold up a copy, but I bought digital because, trying to be savvy like that instead of accumulating more things in my house before I move. We are talking about the brand new Omnibus just recently released on November 9th from Marvel Comics, collecting exclusively Dark Horse comics. Because Legends, am I right? This is the Boba Fett Blood Ties Omnibus. We are doing a roundtable discussion right here live on the show. This is, of course, kind of an interesting book because it's not quite the Marvel Epic Collection that they've been doing. Am I right on this, Freddie? You keep up with the Epic Collections?
Yeah, I
this
try
doesn't
to.
say Epic Collection, does it?
I honestly don't even know if it says Epic Collection. But I try to keep up with them. The thing is that they are quite hefty, and they are not hefty, but it's just more space. Right, it's more space that I need in my bookshelf, and that's a very limited resource.
You read these mostly digitally at this point, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of. I would say I have a majority of Legends comics at this point. So when an omnibus comes, I'm just like, okay, is there anything I don't have? And in most cases, I have it all already. So I try not to double collect those, because if it's going to be a collection of that sort, like an omnibus, it's got to be like the John Jackson Miller, right? Like
the hardcovers. Yeah,
hardcover, exactly. Statement pieces, something that you can get autographed and just have on your shelf and just think like, I never have to read it, but just looking at it makes me happy.
Yeah, read them in a read the library copy. That way, if it gets messed up, no big deal. Yeah. But you got to save your collectible copy. I've been looking at. Should I tell? I'm thinking about getting myself something with some of the like move money. Like, gonna profit a little bit on this house. Have a little bit. I'm gonna expand my collection in some ways next year. I found a like rare exclusive Dark Empire that I didn't know existed. It's like a collectible signed by the author, slipcover edition. It is sleek. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't decided.
I feel like you and I are collecting the Legends, the rarity of Legends things, right? Which was, I think, the first purchase on the show was the hat, the N64.
That Shadows of the Empire hat is rad, man.
Yeah. And then we've got a rare Dark Empire.
That's right.
Who else can find us some interesting things out there?
Emily's a minimalist, so we're gonna have to get her only like the 13-pound omnibuy, right? Exclusively, just so they're extra heavy for the movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this particular omnibus, I don't think qualifies as a Legends Epic Collection, so it's kind of a unique book. So I'm excited to get talking about it. Yeah. Freddie, tell us what is inside this. So it's called the Blood Ties Omnibus, but it doesn't just have blood ties, right?
No, it doesn't have blood ties. It has a good amount of content.
It has blood ties, but it has more than blood ties.
Exactly. So it collects blood ties from 2010, which is a four issue run, and then they've got Blood Ties Boba Fett is Dead, which was published in 2012, and that's also a 4-issue run. Star Wars Empire 2002 7/28, Star Wars Boba Fett from 1997, 1 and 2, I believe. Star Wars Boba Fett Twin Engines of Destruction, which is 1997 run, and that collects number 1. Star Wars Boba Fett Agent of Doom 2000 collects issue 1 of that, and then Outbid but Never Outgunned from Star Wars Tales 1997, and that was number 7, I believe.
So it's kind of blood ties and a smorgasbord of other Boba Fett stories, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's Boba Fett stories throughout time, but it's also like, scattered throughout those issues. It's only a few of them, which is, I guess, a way to make more money, right? You've got to collect them all at that point.
It kind of pads out the omnibus, because Blood Ties itself only is eight issues, right? Blood Ties, what is it called? The story of Jango and Boba Fett, and then there's Blood Ties. Boba Fett is Dead.
Yeah,
and that in and of itself is just 8 issues. So,
and those read really quickly too.
Yeah, they really do. There's a lot of Boba Fett is not a man of many words, especially in Legends.
A lot of action.
Yeah, there's a lot of like full page spreads where Boba Fett says something epic in like a one-liner, and then the rest is just like a monster or a spaceship.
And his one-liners are so good.
Or an explosion.
All of them.
Yeah, hang on to that, Freddie. We're gonna come back to the one-liners. They're good. He's actually, there's another character who I think has even better one-liners. We'll come back to them in a minute. But the centerpiece of this, of course, is the Blood Ties series, which came out in 2010 and 2012, respectively. The creators on these. Emily, tell us who wrote and drew these bad boys.
The cover is by Tommy Lee Edwards, and it was originally the cover for Empire 28. The stories themselves are written by Tom Taylor. The art is by Chris Scalf, and the cover artist is also Chris Scalf.
Chris Scalf, guys, come on.
Tell us about Chris Scalf, Freddie. I know nothing.
Well, okay, so Chris Scalf is primarily a digital artist, and his art is very, very obvious. Just like, I'm trying to think.
Cam Kennedy, because he's also got art in this book.
Cam Kennedy, yeah. Cam Kennedy has a very, very particular style, and it's very obvious as well. And Chris Scalf, it's very digital, and I've worked with like programs like Procreate and a couple other things on my iPad, just doing some digital art, and you can just see it. It's really obvious. And I have an example later on. We can go through it if you'd like, but I have an example of how you can tell that he uses a lot of different styles of art and leaves a lot of his trace marks in his comics, and you can kind of see like his quick outlines of like the slave one, and the filling in and the smudging of his finger with some of the artwork, and it's super interesting, honestly. Like if you look at it closely.
Well, let's come back to that. That's interesting. It's certainly iconic, and I don't know that I loved all of it. I liked some of it a lot, and some more of it I was like, oh, I don't know about that, but it's interesting, and I like that it's a bold choice for sure. Now, I do want to say about the art that what I appreciate is that the cover artist is the same as the interiors. A lot of times you'll have a different cover artist, which gives a false perception of what's going to be in the book, and then the stuff in the book isn't as good. Am I right?
I'd agree with that, actually.
So I like that there was some consistency here. A couple of other interesting creator bits to note. Cam Kennedy, the artist on Dark Empire, does the art on 2 of these issues, the side issues, which we're not really talking about much tonight, but got to give my man a shout out. I love some Cam Kennedy art. He wrote both Empire 7 and Boba Fett, Agent of Doom. Agent of Doom, also written by one of the great Legends comics writers of all time, John Ostrander. So very cool. One thing I've actually looked into, Freddie, is getting Cam Kennedy to do a custom Boba Fett piece for me. He sells them on his website. I mean, like, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
That would be pretty awesome, honestly.
I actually almost ordered it for you for Christmas. So I was kind of just gauging your reaction to see see what you would think.
Sounds awesome.
I feel like he'd need to say something really goofy if it was going to be to you, right? Like, Legends Look Back is a wicked rad podcast, but it's not something that Boba Fett would ever say. Well, I'm very excited about this. Emily, you said that you never read this before, right?
I haven't. This is actually my first comic. I think the last comic I read was like some Spider-Man thing I got from the library in high school. So this is my first Star Wars comic. Definitely the first one in a very, very long time. So it was a different style for sure. And I loved how fast it went. And I'm not really sure how else, like, because it is my first, I guess I don't have anything to compare it to. So
we'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Now, somebody in the Discord last week said it is the very best Legends comic of all time. And I don't know if I'm there, but with that in mind, I was like, somebody loves this that much? I can't believe it. That's cool. And I've read it maybe 3-4 times at this point. Liked it a lot this time. Is it all because that one person said it's the best ever? Maybe. I don't know.
Was that person me? Maybe.
Wait, was that you, Freddie? I'm going to have to go back and look now. How about you, Rick? Have you read this before?
No, this is my first time. And I don't have... I'm trying to think. I surely have read some other Legends. Yeah, I've read other Legends comics, but I think I've read probably more canon. But I'm still new to comics all around. Like, I've barely read, I don't know, maybe 2 dozen or 3 dozen titles. So I'm still getting, there's so much to read, so much to get caught up on. But I definitely did like this one, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, over Christmas break, Rick, there's 2,000 Legends comics? You can knock them all out.
There you go.
I have full faith in you.
I'll get it done, yes.
He can start them right now while we take a quick break.
Just don't buy the physical versions because you won't read them.
Maybe that's the key, Freddie. Maybe that's what it is.
Fair.
Let's take a quick break, and I cannot wait to dive into this bad boy. As the kids say these days, it's a banger. So, is that what they say?
Something like that.
Banger.
More. Yeah. Don't.
So right after the break, we'll be back, and we're going to talk about Boba Fett Bloodlines.
Hey everybody, it is Eric, president of Utini and co-host of The Living Force, which you may be watching right now, here to tell you about something that's going to make the holidays a bit easier. We have made a new website for you called utini.gifts. Now, this is a website that is based around the fact that shopping for Star Wars fans is very hard. We like a lot of things, we also don't like a lot of things. So we at Utini have made some curated gift guides for you. to make shopping for those in your life a little easier, and to make shopping for you a bit easier for people in your life. So whether you want Star Wars apparel, you want collectibles, you want stuff for gamers, you want stuff that's only featuring the child, you want stuff for your office, kitchen, what have you, we got guides for you curated through sites like Etsy, through sites like Amazon, through anything you can imagine. We have scoured the internet for really fun stuff. Head over to Utini.gifts, that's gifts plural, like things you're gonna find under the tree. Get shopping today, get anything you want for the Star Wars fan in your life, and let us know what you think.
Let's get into it. Boba Fett Blood Ties essentially is the series itself, right? There's a lot of other issues in here. Get a little bit about Boba Fett doing this or this member of Boba Fett's family. We're going to boil this discussion of the show down tonight just to Boba Fett Blood Ties. Now, what's it called? It's got an alternate title. Blood Ties, A Tale of Jango and Boba Fett. And then the sequel series, Blood Ties, Boba Fett is Dead. The series essentially is a story of Boba Fett's extended family, right? In the past, Jango takes a hit from Count Dooku on someone who knows too much about what's going on Kamino. The twist, of course, is that as Jango kills the guy, he looks into his own face. He has just killed a defector clone who had fathered a child. His family is just right around the corner, and they're like, what the heck, bro? Well, Boba Fett is overcome with remorse and sets up a child support fund to provide for said child. The child goes on to become one of the main characters of the series, Boba Fett's half-brother-ish. I mean, the bloodlines and all this get a little bit complicated, let's be honest. Connor, what a great Star Wars name. Connor Fett. Is his last name Fett?
No.
Did we ever get there?
No,
it's Freeman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's like a huge plot point. That his name is. I'm gonna call him Connor Fett. I like that. Through Connor the Fett.
But not hold on. But not counterfeit.
Wait, hold on. Speaking of Fetts,
what?
I think we got Boba Fett here live with us on the show. Boba Fett. Oh no, it's just Freddie. Sorry.
Oh, it's just me.
I was worried Jared finally took that hit out on me for my will from last week's episode.
I forgot about that. Freddie, how many Mandalorian helmets do you own?
Roughly 4. Yeah,
Really?
I would say 4.
Roughly
that
4?
doesn't include all the helmets I have, though.
Yeah, you've got a Red Ranger helmet. I know about that.
I've got a Red Ranger helmet. I've got the the storm. It's a stormtrooper helmet. Space. I forget the name. It's the black one. It's like the Galaxy Trooper. I don't know, something like that.
Do you have the Death Trooper with the worms coming out the eye?
You know, I've always wanted one of those. I feel like that's going to be my next big thing. And of course, I've got like a Clone Trooper helmet, Stormtrooper helmet, Phase 1.
You should wear them all next week.
All at the same time. I'm down.
Right. Well, for our audio listeners, they cut over to Freddie and he was wearing a Boba Fett helmet, which really surprised me. You know who else surprised Boba Fett? Connor Fett, right? Connor Freeman, who through no fault of his own, except for, some of the fault of his own because he had extensive gambling debts that he owed to a crime lord, but then took out a hit on Connor. Well, regardless, Connor continually finds himself in the thick of it. Got a bit of a bromance rivalry with Boba Fett. Boba is a Jango clone at this point, so I can call him Jango if I want. Yeah, ignore my typos here. Boba takes a hit out on Connor and discovers that they have a lot in common. In fact, they look frighteningly alike. Boba eventually discovers the truth about Connor's parentage and Jango's involvement in it, but he doesn't believe him at first. And then they become fast friends. Together, they take down the crime lord to whom Connor owed his debt. After, bringing in Connor, getting the money for it, he then says, Connor offers a 3 credits? A 3-credit hit out on the crime lord, and Boba takes the job, takes out the crime lord, and they get out of Dodge with a jetpack in an explosive finale. But thankfully, the story doesn't end there. A couple years later, Boba Fett Blood Ties, Boba Fett is dead, right? In this particular story, Boba faked his own death after being targeted by a bounty hunter syndicate. He accidentally stole Connor's identity, except for, it wasn't really an accident, but then he was sorry for it. At least he went on a last-ditch mission to save his secret family from the governor of Conquered Dawn. Boba Fett had a secret family all along, and he wasn't the only one who knew. That comes back around to haunt him a couple times in this omnibus. Eventually, They had found out Boba's deepest, darkest secrets, and in order to protect them, they all don Mandalorian armor. Boba Fett's ex-wife, Boba Fett's estranged half-brother, and Boba Fett. Where'd he get the armor? Don't know, because the first set had already had a hole blasted through it. Regardless, they all wear their jetpacks, get their blasters, take down the Mandalorians who are trying to take them down. The whole place blows up. It's very explosive. There's also a monster with a venomous fang, and then there's Boba Fett's daughter. It's a ton of fun. And Connor even smooches Boba Fett's wife. So we're going to get there in a second. So before we do, guys, rate this around the horn. 1 to 10 rating. Freddie, let's start with you. Set us off on a high note. How do you rate the Boba Fett Blood Ties story itself? You can do the whole omnibus if you want, but at least the blood ties themselves.
I'm so biased. I'm so absolutely biased of this whole thing. It's hard for me to really quantify other than saying a 10 at this point. I love this series. I've always loved this series. I've read it so many times, especially for Utini, which is great. This is probably my third go reading it already just for Utini, but I've read it so many times outside of that. It's so fun. It's so much action. I mean, you can just see it in the pages, the way Chris Scalf, he doesn't even put in a lot of move lines, but it just looks like movement, which is crazy to me. This is it's a 10.
It's definitely dynamic art for sure. The movement is very dynamic. A 10, straight 10 for Freddie. Wow, it surprises me. I'm probably closer to like an 8.5. Like
that's a good rating.
Like great, nearly incredible. I've got a couple hangups. We'll get there in a minute. How about you guys though? Newbies to this. The problem for me is I've read this so many times.
Yeah.
It's one that's easy to return to. It's a quick read. I read this thing exclusively over the last couple of weeks, sitting in the parent pickup line to pick up my daughter from school.
Nice.
I'd get about an issue per day. So 8 days took about a week and a half. Let's start with you, Rick. What's your rating here?
Man, it was a really good story. I would probably give it probably about an 8, 7 or 8, somewhere in there. There's other stories I've read that I think were more important for what I was going on, like what I was really into. But this one I think is definitely going to stick with me, and so I think the longer I go, I might revisit the score and push it a little higher.
Yeah, great. 7 or 8, it's perfectly fine. So, Emily, how about you? You got Freddie on one end, Rick on the other. I'm like in the middle. Gonna Price is Right me or what?
I think about 8.3, 8.4 sounds about right for me. It was really good. I don't know that much about Boba Fett. I haven't read a ton about him, so I really enjoyed learning more about his character. And I was pleasantly surprised at how quickly the comics went by. Like you just can like fly through these. So that was really nice. I didn't have to, not have to, but like it just didn't take me a very long time to get a lot of information. And the art was really beautiful. So 8.4.
When we ask you to read a book for the podcast, sometimes it's like, oh, homework. I've got to read this whole thing. And I procrastinated it. So I've got 2 days to read 430 pages. Sometimes there's no audiobook, and there's no audiobooks for most comics. There are for some, specifically Dark Empire has audio dramas, as does Tales of the Jedi.
Check those out. Yeah.
It's good stuff. Drastically underrated. But this especially is nice when you're like, oh no, I've got a podcast this week. I should probably start. It only takes like an hour or two to read all 8 issues. That is very nice for sure. There's so much in what you said, Emily, that I want to come back to, but let's talk about the characters. First and foremost, before we get to Boba, we got to start with his dad. Can we call him dad? He does. It's weird, the relationship. Let's be honest. Django, in fact, the very first issue, the first arc is titled A Tale of Django and Boba Fett. So it comes out swinging by saying this is as much about Django as it is about Boba. And that really works. It really works, doesn't it? However, Django does something very questionable right off the top, doesn't he? The very first scene in the entire series is he straps a jetpack to young Boba and sends him through the Balrog. Balrog? You kind of like swallow the Y, right? Balrog?
Balrog. I don't know. Roll your R.
Not Balrog. That's the one where they can't pass, right?
Yes.
And then we turn white, come out with a horse
Yeah.
This is, you don't come out with a horse, you come out with a venomous fang that's like the size of a small child. He sends him careening through, and he comes out and he says, "What, Freddy? Like, what, Dad? Why'd you do that to me?" And he says,
You'll never have fear again because you faced the most fearsome thing in the galaxy."
Mm.
Do you think it's really the most fearsome thing in the galaxy?
I mean, Sarlaccs are pretty fearsome, but in terms of absolute physical brutality, it's right up there. It's probably bigger than a Rancor. It'll probably destroy a Rancor, that thing.
Now that's what I want, is like a prison match between a Balrog and a Rancor. Isn't there a Rancor in this series? I think there's a Rancor.
There is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Easily dispatched.
There's the pitch for the series. It's got Boba Fett and a Rancor. Mic drop. That's all you need to know. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot that goes on.
There is
and so few. Yeah. There you go.
There's the Balrog. It looks more like a Pokemon than it does a Star Wars character.
No, it's totally Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Good point.
Blue Eyes White Dragon.
I like it. This was one of my favorite art pieces, but I knew it was going to be pulled up. I pulled it up last time we talked about my love of Boba Fett. The artwork is beautiful because it's if you zoom into it a little bit. I mean, you're not going to do it here, but if you're looking at the actual comic, you can tell how detailed Chris Scalf gets with a lot of his art here, which is crazy because with like 3D art, you can zoom in as far as you need to get the smallest detail that you need, right?
Yeah.
And you'll see it in this picture. It's just on one page of a comic book, but the amount of detail in it is pretty amazing, in my opinion. It's amazing artwork. This whole thing is great.
That is a good point. And this being from 2010, 2012, kind of in the early days of digital art. And so
definitely,
this being a late Legends story kind of opened up this new medium, whereas Ken Kennedy in the early 90s was doing watercolor because that's what, was available. That and cave drawings. Some of his other art was just like etched on the inside of caves with stones.
Holocrons.
Yeah.
Holocrons. That's too old, Freddie. That's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But how about Django's parenting style here? Django's kind of put up on the pedestal in this series. It's like he's the one that we want to be like. He's the one we want to impress. Emily, as a parent, with another one on the way, what would you think about strapping a jetpack to your kid and sending them through a monster cave?
It was a terrible decision.
I've heard worse ideas.
What in the world? Yes. I don't know. In my mind, part of me is thinking like maybe this wasn't such a savage beast because the monsters when we're children are different than the monsters when we're an adult. And so I'm torn between thinking like Django really did believe in Boba that much that he could defeat the actual scariest thing in the whole universe. Or is it the scariest thing in Boba's universe? And therefore it was just like a psychological trick to where now he's no longer afraid.
That's a great point, Emily. I love that.
For sure. Yeah. Like, what if it's not actually a dangerous monster?
Well, I'm sure it was dangerous, but like, is it really the scariest thing in the world? Or is that just like a trick to get you to think that you're invincible?
How old is Boba here?
That's a good question. Maybe 9?
I think he's like 12
10?
years old or something like that, or?
Oh, maybe.
I've got like 3 ranges of kids: toddlers, kids, and teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's
a kid.
like
He's
a kid.
Yeah, he's in the kid range.
He's too young. Like if he was a teenager, sure. But like the other problem is Django died when Boba was pretty young.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Mace.
He had to be
Am I
pretty young.
I would say my view of this is a little different than that, in that Django understands who he is and what he's capable of and what he was capable of. And I think he's like, this is my clone. I'm going to let him learn how I learned. I know he's going to be fine. I was fine. That's how I saw it, at least. It's different, right? Because he is a clone.
Yeah, that is different. That's an excellent point.
Yeah. I think my take on this, I'm a city boy, but my kids, we no joke got a letter in the mail from the state that said, "Congratulations on your new Texans," when they were born. And so my kids are Texans.
That's hilarious.
And out here, rodeos are very common. and so mixing up with animals that can harm you and cause like lifelong injuries is pretty normal. And there's kids my son's age who are like already getting like prizes and prize money from rodeos. And so maybe this is just the Mandalorian rodeo, and this is, just a what do you call it, like a rite of passage kind of thing where, culturally he is toughened for this, and so it's nothing. We see it as a dramatic step, but it's totally normal in the rest of the context for Django's parenting. Who knows what other rough things he already had gone through. I'm sure he knew how to handle a blaster from 2 months old or something.
Now, in universe, your explanation makes sense, Rick, because in The Mandalorian, now I realize we're crossing the streams here with canon.
Right.
The Mandalorian, he says, the Mandalorian says, guns are my religion. And then, and then I'm going somewhere else with this, but my kid is screaming upstairs and it's driving me insane. Guns are my religion. Where else am I going? What'd you say, Rick? Your New Texans?
New Texans, rite of passage, rodeo.
Rodeo. I'm almost there.
Wild
I
animals.
don't remember.
I don't know.
Prize money.
It did make me wonder. So, like, when you brought up the Mandalorian, and he has that like really drawn out scene with the Mudhorn, but then this Ballyrag seems a lot fiercer than the Mudhorn, and it's like Boba just kind of like zings in and zings back out like it wasn't a big deal at all. So now I'm like, okay, so what's his name? What's the Mandalorian's character from the TV show? What's the character's name?
Din,
I
think.
Yeah, great
Din?
Star Wars name, Din.
Yeah.
Din. Well, it just makes me question how strong he really was, because like if this is what a 9-year-old Boba is capable of, then why did it take?
Well, this is
Din
Legends.
so
They're
long?
superheroic.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true. And it is comic books. Like,
and
I was just surprised that there wasn't any action in the cave. You just see like good luck, and then he just zings out with the tooth afterwards.
That's kind of comic book, right? Though, like, they've only got so many panels to work with, and they're like,
true.
we can't really show this, so we'll just assume he obviously wins.
Yeah,
it's just a little shocking going from Bane to reading like,
Totally.
we're done with
it
that.
happened.
Okay,
Yeah,
I guess we're not going back. Okay.
That's one of my complaints with this, but I also accept it because I read a lot of comics. And that is, there's some plot points where it's like, boom, we're just getting right past it. We're just going to plow through and move along. But that's Star Wars for you.
You especially have to think, right? It's a 4-series run, and you're like, I've only got 4 books to write my entire story.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it, right? And that's it. And I'm pretty sure that's the deal that they went in with.
Yeah.
And I guess the purpose of that scene was just to say, like, that's what he was thinking of when he was saving Connor. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a flashback.
Yeah, exactly. But when you've got something like Knights of the Old Republic or some of the other runs that go on for forever issues, right? You've got unlimited stories that you can tell within stories. That's where you see a lot of the things open up. Like, one, if they were to dig into some of this and expand it, you would definitely see a lot cool, interesting things. But I feel like they only had 4 issues, right, to show Boba Fett's story, as in, like, you start off with him in a situation, and then you go through a quick life story event, and then you come to the present again. It's pretty amazing, honestly, in 4 issues.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's
one of my complaints with the villains in this. Kind of, you just breeze past them pretty quickly. Whereas I think in Knights of the Old Republic there was a whole issue dedicated to Lucien Dre's backstory. And a whole issue just chronicling who he is and fleshing out that villain, and did that a lot with some of the villains there, which we don't quite have in this. But you just kind of have to imagine it, right? Leave some space for the imagination, just like you're going to have to do with whatever else I was trying to say a minute ago about Boba Fett. I was going somewhere and lost it. Right.
So it's Imagine Dragon.
That's right. Absolutely. No. In this, speaking of terrible decisions, like Rick's pun there, in this, Django kills, his clone brother, defector there, but then has a stipend, right? This child support that he has, that he's paying for Connor all throughout his youth, and helps him to grow up. As a man, right, as a character, does the child support in any way make up for Django having killed Connor's father, in your opinion?
Why
are
is
you
this
laughing,
even a
Rick?
question?
What?
No, I mean, like, it's just like, of course
It's
not.
redeeming to a certain extent, isn't it?
I mean, you didn't know those kids who come from like a divorced family and like the dad who sends them like Xboxes every year or something to try to earn their love. Like, that's what it sounds like to me. It just like try to earn the love or move it along, or it's fine, I'll just throw some money at it. So no, of course not. Like,
it was more of recompense for his great egregious error.
Yeah, I think he could have just slowed down. I know that's not really the bounty hunter way of figuring out the context. That's what makes it difficult, and he had a hard life to live. But yeah, no, it doesn't make up for it, not at all.
Emily, you're on Rick's side here. I'm kind of like of a different opinion.
I mean, obviously, it doesn't replace his father. Like, nothing can do that. But I think that given the circumstances, I was pleasantly surprised that he did anything at all.
Right.
So it shows that he had a heart, and he had an honor code that he was adhering to, but it doesn't replace the father.
That's the thing, is Jango Fett's a villain.
Yeah.
And so some of these stories go to kind of make him an anti-hero. A lot of the comics do. Mm-hmm. He's a villain who then you kind of learn has his own heart of gold, and you root for them. Right, Freddie?
It's just a job.
Yeah.
It's not personal.
Right, it's not personal, and that's exactly, you have to imagine like the line of work that Jango is in, how he was raised as a warrior. It's a different kind of thing, right? That probably exists honestly in this world that we don't even know about or think about. But we're talking about a massive Star Wars universe where you have some massive evil, but you also have people who are independently working to try to dispatch whoever that enemy of that person is, and it's just a job. And especially if you think about it, he can't let what did he name? What was his name? Freeman.
Freeman, yeah.
Connor.
Yeah, you can't let him go because look who gave you the job, right?
Dad, yeah.
Count Dooku gave you the job. you can't really mess this one up. It's kind of the end of you and your son, Boba, or clone, however you want to see it. And it's just it's just a job in the end, and there's absolutely nothing personal. It's a job. I have to do what I got to do, and that's his vision of it. And in reality, though, right, that is pretty villainous, because getting paid to dispatch somebody for price, like for money, right, at the highest dollar, that's the job. There's really nothing ethical about that.
Well, I just found out last week that they're real life bounty hunters, so there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, so Freddie, after all that, will you blink twice if you're secretly a bounty hunter and not an engineer?
I did get a little scared.
Yeah. That laugh was a little long there, buddy.
Definitely not a bounty hunter.
He owns a lot of helmets.
Said like a bounty hunter.
That's true.
Definitely not a bounty hunter.
Well, you know who is a bounty hunter? Boba Fett. Boba Fett does follow in his father's footsteps. Yeah, that's the worst segue I've ever had. It does follow in his father's footsteps, even repaints the armor. Or maybe he has multiple suits of armor. I think they hint at that in this particular series. Boba Fett is famous for looking cool and kicking butt. He's got a lot of weapons, including a jetpack and a flamethrower. And the original toy, it was like rocket launching, and then it was a choking hazard, so then they got rid of it, but still has a jetpack, regardless of if it shoots rockets. Totally shoots rockets in this series, so that's cool. However, there's an awesome montage around page 77 in the story of all of Boba Fett's different weapons, right? He's got like blasters and little wrist rockets, and he's got the big one on the back and the flamethrowers. Let's go around the horn here, and I'd like your take on which is the best weapon, in your opinion, in Boba Fett's arsenal. Emily, let's start with you. Oh, you got something there, Rick? Go ahead.
I just wanted to toss it over to Freddie for a second. That's beautiful.
He's looking for the weapons in the helmet there?
Trying to find him. Yep, sorry. I like it. All right, Emily, coming to you.
I'm going to take the stance that there's the best offense is a good defense, I think it's his armor. Personally, because like you can't focus on like taking an offensive position unless you're properly defended. So I think without his armor, he would not have made it to have to be able to use the other weapons.
That's fair.
He's got a tremendous number of hits that he takes in this series that he bounces back from. But then there's the whole thing in Boba Fett is Dead where, like, you know, he puts his armor on the guy that he had killed and then he shoots him out on the jetpack.
Yeah.
I was reading that part to my toddler because she wanted to know what I was reading. And then I was like, this is getting a little violent. I was like, he just put the dead body inside the armor and shot him up out of the hole in the jetpack. And let's finish this later. I put it away.
Moving right along.
Yeah, so the jetpack obviously would be an obvious answer. But I might say his one-liners. He does have a lot of quips here. A lot of quips. Very quippy Boba in this series. We'll come back to the one-liners in a minute. Freddie, what's the best weapon in his arsenal in your opinion?
You know, I actually had a dream that I was Boba Fett.
Not surprised.
Not too long ago.
Because you're a bounty hunter.
I remember waking up thinking, oh my goodness, I finished the dream. How cool is that? And I was just using a whip and just getting people, bringing them, beating them up. And I was whatever I was doing. It was nuts.
Does he have
surprisingly,
a whip?
He does have a whip.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has any like a sharp edge on it, but I do know he's got a whip.
Isn't it like the tether that shoots out of his wrist?
Yeah, the fiber cord.
Gauntlet?
The fiber
cord.
Yeah. But one of my favorite images, because I have a couple of them, I'll show you. This is actually my favorite weapon, and I, for the longest time, didn't really consider it a weapon. You could pull it up, Rick. It's. Let me see. I might have to look up this number here, but it is the jetpack. It's your kind of last form of defense. Your massive form of defense. I mean, you've got a whole missile on your back. I can't remember the picture, the number. Rick. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I love that. He just kind of leans over and shoots the rocket down the alleyway.
Yeah, there you go. Just shoots that rocket down the alleyway. First of all, great, beautiful art. But I mean, it's like if you really need to get rid of something or create a distraction or do any major damage, you have the ability to do that. And I think that's pretty interesting.
Those have got to be expensive, though, to replace those rockets.
Surely.
I'm imagining the recoil would just like shoot you back and fall flat on your face unless you're Boba Fett.
Right. Or you could use the jetpack as like reverse thrust, like you do an airplane when you land.
Yeah.
You could use that as like a counter reaction of the missile.
It went right over my head, just like a jetpack.
Yeah.
Rick, had you weighed in on this one yet?
No. I had a hard time trying to narrow it down to one. They had a bunch of cool ones. I think that in real life, I would want the mini concussion rocket launcher. That would just be really helpful as a school bus driver. Whenever cars run past my stop sign, I'll just give them a little warning shot across their front. But in Boba Fett's hands, I think the ZX mini flame projector was pretty
I'm
dominant.
glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It really gets its moment to shine in this series. On the one hand, it adds like a different visual element in the sense that it's a different color palette. So now we've got the reds and the oranges thrown in, but it's also like it does more to surprise people than it does to hurt them in this. They're often like, he's got fire in his armor. I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, it's definitely a shock tactic.
So that comes up in some really clutch moments. Glad you mentioned that, Rick. We've talked a lot about Boba's arsenal and his armor. One of the things, however, that really shines in this particular series compared to some other Boba Fett stories is Boba Fett as a character without the armor. In fact, in part of the story in Boba Fett is Dead, he dons a different set of armor. A clone trooper, some blue stripes. I don't know exactly the term. I'm sure there's a term for that. Is it like an ARC trooper armor? I'm not sure if it's ever discussed. There's a lot of Boba Fett, however, in this series without his armor. Kind of controversially so. Boba Fett is known for the cool armor. Is there too much Boba without the armor in this series for you guys? about you, Freddie, as the ultimate Boba Fett fanboy?
You know, I never realized how many times I would see Boba Fett without a helmet, and I thought Jango Fett. Right. Like you don't really see often in Legends Boba Fett as Jango Fett. So it throws me off every once in a while, but I think that's okay because going along with the story that George wrote, that is the case. And just thinking like, goodness gracious, he really is a clone of Jango. Like he's basically Jango 2.0.
It's cool in the second series, Boba Fett is Dead, however. He's kind of got like the episode 2 Obi-Wan hair going on though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does have that episode. Yeah, you could say that.
I don't think Tamir Morrison could grow that hair out like that anymore. At least judging by the way he's looking these days.
You might need some help.
No offense, Mr. Morrison. We love your work. Absolutely.
Had lunch with you once. It was fantastic.
Wait, with Tamir Morrison?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It was
awesome.
During Celebration 5. And I was sitting at the table, and it's one of those convention tables. It's probably sits like 60 people. And I'm sitting on one side. This dude and his girlfriend are sitting just maybe like 4 chairs down. And then across from me sits this guy, and I'm like, I look at the couple. They look at me. I look at him. He's looking at us. And the guy's like, "Are you?" And the guy's like, "No."
That gave it away.
And so he just hangs out and has lunch with us. He tells us a whole story of like how he dodged his security so that he could come hang out, and was talking about convention and stuff like that. It was really random.
That's awesome.
That is cool. Wow.
I love that.
That is amazing.
Yeah, he's a cool
guy.
guy.
Freddie, we're going to spend the rest of the jettisoning the rest of the show notes and just talk about
Forget
the rest of your crazy stories.
Yeah.
For the rest of the episode.
That could be
Dave
a whole
Filoni.
segment. Freddie time.
Met Pablo Hidalgo. There's another.
Pablo Hidalgo, Dave Filoni.
You met both of them?
Yeah.
Nice.
Had
Everybody in California knows each other.
Yeah. Just big family.
Yeah. There's tons of people, honestly. Like there's a number of artists that I've hung out with. Goodness gracious, I couldn't even count, but I don't want to take the rest of the show.
That is cool,
to
though.
talk
That is
about
cool.
it.
Yeah.
Now,
Story time
famously,
with
I don't know if I've
Freddie.
told you guys this. I think that Freddie looks like Daniel Logan, the actor who played young Boba,
Daniel
like-
Logan.
but like grown up today.
Hmm.
What do you guys think?
Daniel Logan, huh? Let's see. What would be my line? Yep. Right, that was his line. Yep.
Here's
Yep.
another one that I love. Dad, Ton Wee's here. Nothing says I'm in Boba Fett like Dad, Ton Wee's here. Am I right? In fact, one of the big complaints about the prequels is the fact that it turns both Vader and Boba into a punk kid, right? So Jake Lloyd in episode 1 and now Daniel Logan in episode 2. Did this story redeem that element of the great Boba Fett retcon for you guys? The fact that this really dives deep into the idea that Boba is a Jango Fett clone, and so he's reckoning with his legacy, with his father's legacy, being different from his father. The fact that his father has now fathered an army that looks exactly like him, and he's got a weird relationship to this guy Connor, who is fathered by a man who looks exactly like his father. And so there's all these implications of and then Boba Fett's got his own family in this thing. Does this redeem the big Boba Fett twist for you guys? Looks like I've stirred the hornet's nest over there in hornet's nest in Rick's head. I can see the wheels turning.
Yeah. So, I don't know if redeem if we're that level, but it definitely makes the character much more interesting. I think this does a lot to his story and complexity. Like we said, and with the Jango thing, killing Connor's dad, I'm not sure if that, makes it better with the whole child support thing, but it definitely does add a level of honor. And I think we see that in Boba Fett too. So, man, it's a complex character living in a complex world, doing a really hard job. So it makes it fascinating because it's really foreign to my life, personally. I know Freddie's a bounty hunter, so he probably can relate a lot. But
How about you, Emily?
I don't really know. I did think he was kind of a punk kid in the movies.
If you go back and watch Attack of the Clones now, would you feel different about it?
Knowing that Django just sent him into the ballyrick thing by himself, yeah, probably. I'll have to rewatch it. I'll get back to you.
There definitely
we
is.
We will anxiously await Emily's Attack of the Clones report.
Yeah, I'm noticing that there's a lot of orphaned boys in Star Wars. You know?
Oh yeah,
definitely a theme.
One of the tropes.
Yeah,
for sure.
What
about you, Freddie? What's your take?
Well, I guess my Boba Fett has been retconned so many times because of new developments and the original Boba Fett was just a bounty hunter, nothing crazy, right? He was just a bounty hunter. He had his own entire story, and then of course you see who Boba Fett's dad is, and you start to understand a little bit more there. And of course that retcon with the whole cloning and that changed a lot of things. And then you've got Boba Fett in the Clone Wars cartoons, right? And he's a punk there, but he's also hanging around some pretty intense bounty hunters at I believe it's by his dad's wish. I mean, he's got like Bosk, Aurra Sing, a couple others just hanging around him. He's learning from like the best. So he is definitely Jango Fett, taught by Jango Fett, also taught by other bounty hunters. So he is definitely Jango Fett 2.0. And just reading this story, it just solidifies like how intense this guy is in terms of martial artistry, including weapons, right? It's a form of martial artistry, the weapons he uses. And the way he grew up, he had no option, honestly, to be anything other than what he is right now, and he is absolutely good at it.
Yeah, it's a good point. He's been retconned so many times. Why get hung up about it at this point? And I appreciate that we've kind of got the same perspective on that. Freddie, no reason to get hung up on the chronology of it all. If you want this kind of Boba Fett in Legends, he's there. If you want a totally ruthless Boba Fett who has nothing to do with Jango Fett, he's also there. If you want Boba Fett who's not actually Boba Fett, in Boba Fett's armor, but we didn't know it at the time because it was a retcon, he's there. There's all kinds of Boba's Fett. Hot Dog Boba Fett, we got it. Every single kind. One of the big wrinkles, though, however, is regarding Boba Fett's love life. We get to know Cintas Vel, who is a bounty hunter, who the initial little prologue story, what was that one called? It was, I've got it here in the notes somewhere. I'm talking about, right? Oh, Outbid But Never Outgunned from 1997. Introduces Cintas Vel, kind of shows that they've got a bit of a history, and they've got this hologram of a family photo of them together. I love that Boba Fett's in his armor in that photo. Because at that point you would never have him out of the armor, and they've got a checkered past together as well. I did kind of feel a little bit like she was borderline walking line between really being a formidable, fearsome bounty hunter versus also kind of falling into that trope. It's not her fault, it's the writer's fault, of being the love interest who then has to be rescued by the male. Emily, as our female voice on the team, do you think this fell too much into that trope, or was she a fearsome bounty hunter in her own right? Did she stand on her own enough, or did it kind of fall into that pitfall?
I think she definitely stood her own enough personally. And I think there was even a line that addressed that, where he said, well, it seems like you probably could have had that on your own. You didn't need me.
Okay, that's a good point.
I thought that she was strong enough for sure. I thought that Aelin was strong enough on her own. The only weird part I thought about her character is why on earth she kissed Connor. Like that just didn't make any sense to me. It wasn't necessary. And I just thought that was kind of cheap, but I liked her character. I thought the rest of it was pretty good. Makes for an interesting
wrinkle if somebody who looks like the man that you love comes around, looks just like him. It's like, hey, no strings attached. But however, it makes mostly an interesting wrinkle for the drama between Connor and Boba, which you don't want to have a woman making a choice in your story just to accelerate the drama between the male characters in your story. So that's where it really gets messy.
Yeah.
But do you think this was a violation of the bro code between Boba and Connor, Freddie?
Of course it is.
Is Boba is he justified to be mad about this?
Let's see. Rule number 5 of the bro code: never get with another bro's girl. If it's an ex, you need explicit instruction from the original bro that it is okay.
But it's all initiated by her. I don't understand. You're just a bystander.
Yeah.
You know, it was, yeah. I mean, there's not much you could do there. It is what it is. Like, do you really think you're gonna find like a random half Boba somewhere?
I mean, if that's rule number 5, then rule 1 is never kiss Boba Fett's ex-wife. Am I right?
Yeah.
You can put that in the next Utini commercial. Never kiss Boba Fett's ex-wife. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Huge props to Boba Fett for not killing him.
Yeah.
After he sees that, though, right?
Yeah. Like, my thoughts on this is like twofold. One, yeah, I mean, Connor, he wasn't asking for that, you know, but he didn't exactly resist much either. So he probably could.
He did not resist at all.
Yeah. So like he could have done.
It's one
something.
frame. How much is he gonna resist in one frame?
The body language speaks loud. Okay, loudly. And so there's zero resistance there. But also like Boba Fett is almost like too chill about it. The way I was reading that was just like, "You kiss my wife?" Like it's kind of a question, you know, interrobang of like, you know, you did. I'm telling you, I know that you did, but I'm still like, just asking a question. So I was a little like, what? That's just weird. You know, it just kind of was startling. Maybe I don't know. It was interesting.
I think it spoke to the bond between the two of them.
Yeah.
That Boba had already developed some trust for Connor. He had already earned one free pass, not like with his wife, but like a free in terms of like, you made one mistake. If you ever make another, I'll kill you. Right.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest complaint about this series. I just want more. I would like Boba Fett. I would like Blood Ties. Boba Fett is dead. JK. Right. I would like, you know, like a third series. Or Boba Fett is dead for real this time. Or Blood Ties, the Sarlacc found them all indigestible.
These are great ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You really ought to write this down, like, and send it somewhere. I think that it would get picked up for sure.
That's fine. What we'll do is we'll get Tom Taylor on the podcast.
There we go.
We'll pitch these things to him.
It's good.
Is he alive? Does he still exist, Freddie? I actually have no idea.
I'm not sure. I don't know that answer.
So one way or the other, beyond the grave or not. We're going to make it happen. Now, you did mention Aelin, Boba Fett's daughter. I kind of think she's the star of this series. What do you think, Emily?
I would love to see her with her own series. Can you imagine? The daughter of Boba Fett and, was it Cinta Spell? Yeah. I would be interested in reading that.
Emily, are you ready for me to drop a huge Legends bomb on you?
Oh, okay, do it.
Oh, no, there is one, isn't there?
Well, it's not a comic.
Okay.
But Aelin Vel is a major character, and by major I mean an ancillary character in a future, in a Legends book series.
Mm-hmm.
She does play a prominent role. This is not her last story.
And not.
I was going to say you'll get more for sure.
Not in a what?
That one, I started reading one of those books that I got, and it's one with all the
Darkness. Yeah. I would run far, far away. And then once you've gotten there, run farther.
That's my problem. Is apparently I just have the garbage books. So like
Legacy of the Force. It's Legacy of the Force. In Legacy
of the Force. Okay.
Which is famously one of Corey's favorite series. But
okay.
First, you need to read the entire Thrawn trilogy. He's got one more of those to read. You need to read the entire Jedi Academy trilogy, I, Jedi, the Hand of Thrawn duology, then the entire New Jedi Order. And those are just the books. We're not even counting the comics. So in 5 years, Emily, you will be...
Yeah.
Don't forget who Aelin Vel is. She does come back around. Before we wrap up tonight, guys, let's just do a few more of the overarching questions, and then we will be done. Freddie, you talked about the artwork. Why is it that Boba Fett lends himself so well to comics as a medium? I think that he is just absolutely, maybe Vader, in a rivalry with Vader for the very best character. Just perfect fit for comic books.
Yeah, Stormtroopers do really well too, and I'll leave it to this. Because they are human but non-human looking, they are, in my opinion, easier to right? You don't have to worry about all the details of the face. Sometimes, I mean, you have to be honest. I'm sure you can agree. There's some comics where the faces are just a little wonky, and you're like, okay, how much did you actually give that effort? And then when it comes to this sort of armor, it's just easier to draw, but it stands out on the page. You've got some cut lines which are unnatural, so it's just very obvious that he's just some soldier, right? Like, even if to take yourself back when Boba Fett was first featured, even in that artwork, he's something different, something intense, almost robotic.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited for us to get into more comics as we go, just to see how well. Yeah, I think we got to get Emily to read Dark Empire pretty soon. I mean, Boba Fett's got a great role in that one. An absolutely spectacular role. Hot Dog Boba Fett to the rescue. Actually, really messes everything up in that story, but we love him anyway. Freddie, what's your favorite art in this series? Let's go around and we'll start with you. Kick us off. Do you have a favorite panel?
I do. Rick, just show any of them and I'll talk about them. So this is definitely one of them. It's the jetpack with the rocket going and just trying to finish the job right there. And I thought it was awesome artwork. Just the lighting pops out. This one's great too. I love how he's just standing over.
Kind of pulling a like Master Chief there, isn't he?
Exactly, and that's also one of my favorite one-liners. But I always collect. So good, and I love this. The next, Almost Brothers, All Enemies. It feels like a cereal, right? Like one of like
yeah, it does.
It
lends itself well to that kind of format.
Yeah, exactly. So we can check another one here.
I like. There's a good one of the Slave One. Yeah.
Yeah, so this one's great. I love this one, and this is where you see a lot of Scalf's trace work right before he actually starts filling it in, and you can see all the different layers he's put on, and just the way it lays on the background. You see that planet right there, and it's got a crisp, nice, solid, round edge to it, placed in front of that black background. And you can't see it here, but there's a lot of very fine trace work going on. You can tell he spent quite a bit of time working on it.
Zoom in on that, Freddie. I'm not sure I even noticed what you're talking about, so I have to check that out.
Yeah, and you can window too, how it's a bit shaded in. You can see like he would use his finger to do like the virtual smudge on it as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty interesting artwork. Definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah,
sorry if I'm taking anybody's there.
Like my favorite art is much simpler. It's like there's a shot where both Aelin and Conrad. That's not right.
Connor.
Conrad.
Got a friend
hard time with Connor's name.
Freedom.
Connor Freeman.
Conrad Fett coming to a used bookstore near you. Where they both suit up in some Mandalorian armor, and hers is gold and his is red. So like my art critique is I liked the colorful suits. It was a good payoff because I didn't see it coming, and then I was like, oh, I should have seen that coming. That they're all going to be wearing awesome armor at the end of this thing. Yeah, but I also love Power Rangers, so it's kind of like that. You got the green one, the red one, the gold one. How about you guys? Emily, you got a favorite art panel from this?
I do, but I was lame and I didn't send it to Rick.
That's
this
okay.
is mine.
Hot
I
Dog
don't know
Boba
that
Fett.
it's from. Yeah, is that Hot Dog Boba Fett? I just thought this one really struck me. It just seems like a really athletic pose for him to be taking. It almost reminded me of like a Greek statue, the way he's kind of standing there with like he's kind of standing on one hip with his gun up.
That's
and like
beautiful.
the light.
If you look at that again,
nice.
Emily, like his imposing figure, it looks like it's stretching over another panel. Like it's absolutely imposing.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Great pick. How about you, Rick?
Shot.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull mine up.
That was good, Emily.
Yeah, that
I want
was.
to see that again.
I
know my new tattoo.
That would be a good tattoo.
I love just the way that who's the artist? Is it Drew?
Chris Scalps.
Chris, not even
Yeah.
close. Not even close. Okay, Chris. He does a great job with contrasting colors, and like there's pages and pages where like he's got these dark blues with the bright oranges.
Yes.
And
yeah, that was really nice.
I love how all of these came out. So I don't know if I could pick one, but then when you get the red blaster or laser fire bolts in there too, it just It's really cool. So
it does stand out if you've gotten used to the other color palette.
Yeah, and then like look, he'll go from this blue, and then he'll start. You probably can't tell. Oh, good. I just turned on my camera. That's cool. Yeah. So go from like introducing the blues, and then it gets a little greener. I don't know if you can see that, but then the very next page just completely changes the color scheme. And so,
Rick, that is awesome.
Yeah, so
that's a great eye.
Good, different.
Watch out, Cosmic Force. Rick's coming for your job.
Goodness. Yeah, with my 20 comics that I've read.
Now, Rick is also good at another thing, and that's one-liners.
Oh, man.
The absolute king of one-liners. Rick, did you have a favorite one-liner from this series? I could not stop writing them down.
Yeah.
There were so many that I loved.
There's a lot of good one. Aelin, the whole, kissing and space worm thing. What did she say? You'll get space worms kissing. That
catches
was a great
them
one.
Kissing. It's like I caught mom kissing Santa Claus thing.
Exactly. That was
great. For Santa Claus is Boba Fett. Ooh, no, write that down. Santa Claus is Boba Fett.
Life day gifts or something, yeah.
And she says, you get space worms for kissing, right?
So good.
Great. Yep.
That is a good one. How about you, Freddie? You got a favorite?
I really like the I think it's towards the end of Boba Fett, the fourth one, when or is it the second one? I forget. Or third. I can't remember. But basically he wants to make his dad happy, and the way he does it is by doing what he did at the end of the book, right? He's given his old man one last I guess happy moment. I don't know, dedicating it to him or something. I like that one the most because it was, he didn't say many words. It was I can't remember even what it was at this point, but it was very simple, and that was it. And there was just a lot of moments happening around that you could just feel like how he must have felt under the helmet when he was doing all of what he did.
So more of a meaningful one than a funny one.
Yeah.
How about you, Emily?
I can't say that I have a favorite right now because this is my first comic. I'm really just trying to absorb. So like there were a lot. And maybe I think Django's line about the fear, but like that's not a Boba Fett line, so that's not as cool.
No, I'd say the best one-liner of the whole comic. Yeah,
definitely.
I thought that was a pretty poignant moment.
That is a good one.
It was.
I mean,
it starts the series.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's the tone for sure. I'm really torn between when Connor says like, "Oh, there's a League of Bounty Hunters." That's the worst idea I've ever heard. And he keeps
that's a good one.
It really got me. And the fact that it's like a recurring joke that kept coming back to it. Somebody's like, "A League of Bounty Hunters," and then Connor, who's in handcuffs with a lightsaber to his throat, is like, "It's pretty bad, right? It's pretty dumb."
Yeah.
And then I liked it when in the end they said your entire hit squad was taken out by a little girl.
Yes,
that one was good.
It was very sharp. That was very pointed, and like, I want you to know that your entire squad was taken out by a little girl.
What do you think Connor's name is really Connor Fett or Connor Solo?
He's kind of Han Solo.
He did count. He struck me as that. Yeah.
Han Fett.
Well, what's fun is in Legends, Boba Fett and Han Solo have quite the rivalry. And so this kind of plays into that some, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's why Boba Fett hates Han Solo so much. It reminds him of his kid brother, am I right? Well, as we close out, I just want to say we do have a big Boba Fett show coming out in just a few weeks, right? December 29th is the debut of the book of Boba Fett. We've just read a book about Boba Fett. Is there anything you would like to see adapted from the Blood Ties Omnibus into the book of Boba Fett? I think personally I'd kind of like to see something regarding Boba Fett having like a deep dark secret that's from his past that somebody discovers and he's got to do something about it. However, that's kind of what Hawkeye is about right now. So yeah, you can just kind of re-roll it and stick in some Boba Fett armor and it'll work, right? How about you guys?
I want to see how he escapes the Sarlacc. Like,
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I just don't get that. I'm like, I'm still new. I tried Wikipediaing it, and it was just overwhelming. There's so much information.
It happens multiple times in Legends, Emily. Multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to see that.
It cuts to me in my head is in my hands.
Yeah.
It's in both Tales from the Tales of the Bounty Hunters. or Tales from Jabba's Palace. It's one of those.
Okay.
And it's also in the War of the Bounty Hunters trilogy, the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy. It's in both of those. Freddie, correct me if I'm wrong here. Doesn't he get swallowed again and have to escape a second time? If that's not the most Legends thing you've ever heard. I think that happens.
That's funny.
I think so.
Wow.
I'm trying to go back and think of when he got swallowed again, but that's the thing that I absolutely would like to see, because we all know he went in there. They have to show us how he got out, or they might never do it, right?
Yeah.
And I see that point for sure, but I'd also like some new Boba Fett things. I don't even know how to describe it. Just things that I don't know already, right? That's the part that makes me very happy, because I feel like I know quite a bit, and I wouldn't mind if they retconned him again and made him a completely different type of character. But
well, you're in
I
luck,
feel like
Freddie. It's a new show right around the corner.
yeah, and it's by Disney, so they can do whatever they want. So we'll see how it goes.
I want some Legends homages, and here you are like, no, make it new, keep it fresh. I'm like, no, give me nostalgia.
Kill the old.
Yeah.
How about you? Let the past die. How about you, Rick? And so we close out here. Are you on my side or Freddie's?
Actually, different route entirely, but I like both of y'all's answers, so whatever happens is gonna be good. But I was thinking more just the tech, wanting to know more about his weapons. We got to see some with the Mandalorian, like that show and Mando's armor there and his different gadgets. But gadgets, man, show me more about this crafting that these Mandalorians and the armor that they have. So something like that, And this comic was cool, showcasing a few of those off. But let's be more creative and do some crazy gadgets. That'd be fun. Emily in the Discord with the spray bottle thing, I don't remember how that conversation started, but I was thinking about how cool it would be if like Boba did have like acid spray, like that wouldn't surprise me at all. If he just had like a gun he pulled out that was acid to get through Durasteel or something. So I want to see
Or he
cool
could change
gadgets.
the flamethrower.
Oh
cartridge.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That's what I'm talking
like
about.
a bolt
Stuff
action.
Like that. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm on that. I like that.
Or if he gets him like
Go
confused
gadget
once.
acid.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Best idea I've ever had next to Santa Claus Boba Fett is bolt action flamethrowers.
Yes.
And on that note, that does it for this week. Thanks for joining us for Legends Look Back. Thanks to our incredible patrons for your support. We love making this show. Glad that you are along for the ride. Special thank you to Cheryl Pill, Patrick Ortiz, Carl Sander, OK Endar, JG Karas on our Jedi High Council, as well as Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Sally and Chris Eilerson, Freddie C., Earl Q., and Matt Billington on our Alliance High Command for your amazing support. Special thank you to Rick, Freddie, and Emily for podcasting with me. We're going to be back next week with an all-new show. Got a bit of a break coming up after that as I'm relocating studios, but we do have some fun bonus content planned for those off weeks. We will not leave you legendsless over the holidays. Don't you worry. Remember, of course, if you are watching this episode or listening in your earbuds, please throw us a review. Give us a like, however it is that you're listening to or watching the show. Whatever you can do to help us keep the lights on and help other people find the show would be much appreciated. If you'd like your thoughts around the show, you can email us at legendslookback@utini.com. You can send us a message in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. You can leave a comment on this episode on YouTube, or you can find us on Twitter at Legends Look Back, or at Jared Q. Mays, or Freddie
At Wake Up Freddy.
You can contact Rick
at Rick_Grace,
or even Emily
At Darth Daybeck.
Wonderful. If you're looking to buy some of these books, such as this brand new, all new, brand spanking, we don't even know how it smells yet, Freddie. I read it digitally. This brand new Boba Fett Blood Ties Omnibus. You can go on over to utini.com, type it in the search bar, go to that new release page, and click the Amazon link in the profile, and you can, of course, have your own copy showing up at your doorstep or your digital doorstep. Whichever doorstep, it still gives us a few cents to help keep the lights on. Remember, everybody, after you've done that, you can let us know what you think and leave us a little review. And in the meantime, regardless of what you think, please keep the Utini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. Until next week, may the force be with you.